everyone. Welcome to the session called AI Agent and AI. After the great keynote, it's get nervous to talk to you. I'm Sung An from Hongik University. I'm a chair of this session. I would like to introduce great future researchers, 4 of them, and they will give a talk about the agent and AI related topics. The first presenter is the Navigation Pixie on-demand navigation agent in commercial metaverse. The author is Hirai Yanagawa. Sorry for my pronunciation. Yoshi Hiroi, Satomi Tokita, Yuji Hatada, Takeuchi Hiraki. The presenter will be the Hikari Yanagawa. Okay? So the presentation time will be the 15 minutes, 13 to 15 minutes, and we have a 3 minutes questionnaire. So I will let you know when the time is. Okay? Please welcome to the presenter.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Hikari Yanagawa from Cluster Metaverse Lab and the University of Tsukuba. This is my first time presented research paper in my career, and I'm truly honored to share it here at ISMAR with all of you today. Today, I will introduce Navigation Pixie, an on-demand navigation agent deployed in the commercial metaverse cluster. We explore how LLM-based embodied agent can support exploration in real user-generated worlds. Metaverse platforms offer scale, but struggle to retain users. Even with thousands of user-generated worlds, keeping people engaged remains difficult. Current navigation aids remain limited. Static maps and signs require users to interpret them manually. Fixed food guide bots lack flexibility. Keyword-based agents can't handle open-ended dialogue. In short, they help users move, but not understand why they move. So our question is simple. Can LLM-empowered embodied agents make metaverse exploration more engaging? Instead of giving commands, could an agent talk with users, understand their interests, and explore together rather than instruct? That's the idea behind Navigation Pixie. So I'm sorry that I'm unable to print the video, but moving on. So let's now look at how it actually works. Our design was guided by 4 key principles: platform independence, UGC compatibility, LLM adaptability, and operational sustainability. Commercial metaverse platforms evolve quickly. Frequent updates can easily break experimental agents. To address this, we isolated platform-dependent code into a dedicated agent driver module. This means Pixie can continue operating even if the platform changes. Pixie was designed to survive platform updates. Running experiments in a live commercial service means balancing research and reliability. We had to ensure no destructive modification to production systems. Our agent had to coexist safely with real users. In other words, this is a research agent that can live in production. Metaverse worlds are user-generated, each with unique structures and layouts. Instead of analyzing 3D geometry, Pixie with creator-defined metadata, the navigation JSON-based point of interest descriptions that creators provide. Pixie doesn't analyze the world, it with what creators describe. Since LLMs evolve rapidly, we designed the system to be prompt-driven, not model-bound. Pixie doesn't rely on fine-tuned weight or embeddings. Updating behavior is as simple as adjusting prompts or API calls. This model-agnostic design keeps the system sustainable across model generations. As shown in this diagram, Pixie's architecture is loosely coupled. The agent core handles perception, action, and conversation via LLMs. Agent driver connects this logic to the metaverse application, which communicate with the UGC world. This separation ensures that each subsystem can evolve independently while maintaining operational stability. To evaluate Navigation Pixie, we conducted a large-scale in-the-wild user study inside cluster. We recruited 193 participants, 99 on PC and 94 using VR headsets. Here you can see demographics of our participants, including age distribution and login frequency across PC and VR users. We measured 4 key metrics: dwell time, free exploration time, spatial dispersion, user engagement, using temporal presence inventory, TPI, and Godspeed questionnaire series, GQS questionnaires. 2 user-generated words were used, a museum and a sky cafe called Wiener. We compared 3 conditions. A, on-demand agent, our LLM-driven Pixie that responds to user queries. B, fixed route agent, following preset paths like traditional guides. C, no agent as a control. The quantitative results were clear. Users guided by the on-demand agent A spent 1.5 to 1.7 times longer in the world. And their free exploration time increased 3 to 5 times compared to other conditions. This means users didn't just stay longer, they explored more, showing genuine curiosity and engagement. When we looked at user engagement scores from TPI and GQS, we found complementary patterns between PC and VR users. In the museum with PC, the on-demand agent tended toward higher immersion through not significant. In the cafe world, users rated higher in relaxation and stimulation, indicating that the agent enhanced the atmospheric value of the environment. Across both worlds, the on-demand agent scored higher on animacy and likability dimensions. For VR users, no significant difference appeared in the museum. But in the cafe, the on-demand agent again outperformed others in anthropomorphism, animacy, and perceived intelligence. In conclusion, Navigation Pixie is the first in-the-wild validation of an LLM-based navigation agent in a commercial metaverse ecosystem. It ran safely in production, interacted with hundreds of real users, and showed measurable effects on dwell time, exploration, and engagement. So limitation. Our study was limited to 1-by-1 user agent setup without spatial understanding or interaction with interactive elements like door. Future work will expand toward cross-word and multi-user navigation. system is now commercially available worldwide as AI Agent Flex, a production-ready version of Navigation Pixie. You can learn more and access the service from the QR code below. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Is there any question on the floor? It is very interesting to hear about your on-demand agent research. You mentioned the cafe. In the case of cafe and in the case of museum is somehow different result came out. And do you have a plan to test other occasions in the future?
Yes, I'm planning on evaluate Navigation Pixie technology on diverse or real user-generated words that.
Any other questions? Yes, thank you very much. Yeah.
Hello everyone, we are Hyungil Nam
and Muskan Sarvesh
from University of Calgary. Today we are present our work, Effects of AI-powered embodied avatars on communication quality and social connection in asynchronous virtual meetings. Before we begin, I'd like to show a short movie clip.
You did the best you could. That's how I wish it happened.
Some of you may recognize it from Marvel's Captain America, Civil War. In this scene, Tony Stark, Iron Man, uses a holographic system to reconstruct a memory from his youth. It isn't a simple replay, it's a recreation he can experience differently in the present. Our research explores a similar idea for meetings. We ask, what if we could bring past moments, ours or someone else, back into present so we can interact with the people from the meeting, ask our questions, and recover the emotional exchange we missed the first time. In everyday collaboration across time zones, we typically rely on Zoom or Microsoft Teams. If we miss a late night meeting, we watch the recording to catch up on the content and to some extent, the speaker's tone or state. Recently, immersive XR platforms such as Meta Horizon Workrooms, Spatial, and VR Chat have enabled avatar-mediated meetings that increase presence and empathy, intimacy beyond 2D video. But here's the challenge. If you miss an immersive XR meeting because of time differences or the personal constraints, how do you catch up on both conversation and the emotions that unfolded there? Most current systems in XR, even in XR, still support what 2D tools do best, record and replay. Researchers have tried to go further, letting newcomers at work asynchronously or adjusting avatar positions and gaze in replays to boost social connection. These help, but one limitation remains. A newcomer still can't ask the original participants questions or converse with them. The interaction with initial communicators is still very limited. That's why we introduced Avagent, an AI-powered agent-ized avatar that enables asynchronous conversation. From the original communicators' verbal and nonverbal behaviors, we create their Avagent. When a newcomer arrives later, they can interact with these agentized avatar in context. In this study, we show how built a system that supports context-relevant real-time interaction and evaluate how it improves communication quality and social connection for people who missed the live meeting. Here is how Avagent works.
Honestly, technology is the real solution. If we push for electric cars and carbon capture technology, pollution will decrease automatically. There's no need for individuals or companies to struggle.
During the original communication, the system captured time series data of each avatar's verbal and non-verbal behavior. For verbal behavior, the system cloned the speaker's voice so that later the agent can speak in the same voice. The system also transcribed the utterances so that the content becomes the agent's knowledge. For non-verbal data, the system records how facial blend shapes and body joints change over time, and then use an LLM to describe and reconstruct those behavior. Because the streaming high fidelity facial blend shape or any body generation stuff in real time is technically limited, so the system pre-composed expressive responses aligned with the basic emotions, like an Ekman's 6 emotions kind of things, and then transcribe the speech. This allows the agent to display natural verbal and non-verbal behaviors instantly when needed. And then what happens when a newcomer arrives? When a newcomer asks a question or expresses an emotion, the system references the transcribed past conversation and ongoing dialogue with newcomer. An LLM generates a context-aware response, which is then spoken in the cloned voice via text-to-speech. At the same time, the Avagent triggers the pre-generated facial blend shapes and body motions consistent with the inferred emotion, while aligning gaze and the head pose toward the newcomer. The effects is you see in the demo. And the newcomer asks a question or express something like this. That's a great idea. Can you elaborate further on your suggestion? And then Avagent gonna respond to the newcomer like this.
I believe advancing technology, like electric vehicles and carbon capture, will significantly reduce pollution. Making these solutions accessible to everyone is key for real change.
Okay, moving on to our study design. We ran a 3x2 within subject study with 30 participants. This consisted of 2 factors. The first is communication method, and the second is meeting topic. For communication, participants experienced 3 conditions, which is a recording baseline, a voice-based AI assistant which had no embodiment, and our Avagent condition with embodied agents delivering both verbal and nonverbal responses. For topics, we contrasted the analytical topic of air pollution, which you just heard, with personal storytelling tasks on travel experiences to see how content type shaped engagement and connection. Each participant tried all of the 6 conditions in a counterbalanced order. Followed by this was the surveys and final questionnaire, and the full session lasted about 75 minutes. There were 3 main measures that we were looking at. First is communication quality, where we looked at usefulness, engagement, and trust. And this led to our first hypothesis, which is that participants will report a significantly higher communication quality when interacting with Avagents compared to the other 2 conditions. The second measure was the social connection, which consists of social presence, emotional intimacy, and sense of belonging. This led to our second hypothesis, which states that participants will report significantly higher social connection when interacting with Avagents compared to the voice assistant and the recording conditions. The third was emotion perception, where we were looking at empathy and perceived emotions. We believe that participants report significantly higher empathy and stronger emotional perception in the averagent condition compared to the other two baseline conditions. Our fourth and final hypothesis states that the impact of averagents on social connection and emotion perception measures will be more pronounced in effective meetings than analytical meetings due to higher use perception of, for emotion resonance. Moving on to our results for communication quality, where we measured usefulness, engagement, and trust. Averagents and voice assistants were rated more useful than recordings, with no difference between them. In terms of engagement, averagents were significantly more engaging than both the other conditions, while a voice assistant also outperformed recordings. And finally, for trust, averagents were more trustworthy than recordings, but there was no difference from the voice assistant condition. Moving to the social connection aspect. For social presence, averagents outperformed both recording and voice assistant, creating the strongest sense of being with others. Emotional intimacy, averagents scored the highest, with voice assistant also being above recordings, but less strongly. And finally, for sense of belonging, averagents led to the highest ratings, while voice assistant also surpassed recordings. Finally, moving to emotion perception. When we were looking at the perception of emotions, averagents boosted positive feelings and reduced feelings of boredom and irritation, with recordings showing the lowest feelings and voice assistant falling in the middle. And for empathy, averagents were rated significantly higher than both the baseline conditions, showing the strongest empathy. And overall, averagents fostered greater empathy and more positive feelings than other two methods. Our findings highlight four main takeaways. First is communication quality. We see that embodied interactions offer more than just a passive playback. Second is social connection. Participants felt that they were truly part of a conversation when interacting with averagents. Third, they also increased empathy and emotions. So averagents fostered feelings of positive feelings while reducing boredom and irritation compared to the other two baseline conditions. And finally, topic effects. So effective topics encouraged emotional resonance, while analytical topics placed more emphasis on clarity. And overall, averagents consistently strengthened communication, connection, and emotional experiences in asynchronous meetings. Technically, averagents are limited by facial tracking, hand jitters, and a short response delay. And looking ahead, we plan to improve nonverbal communication, enable adaptive learning, and extend to lectures and narratives, and address key ethical concerns like privacy, consent, and transparency. In conclusion, we would like to say that averagents introduce AI avatars for asynchronous meetings, and this moves beyond just a simple replay to more interactive and multimodal dialogue. Our results show that it improves both communication quality and social connection, bringing asynchronous meetings much more closer to experiencing live, responsive interactions. The final message that we would like to leave with is AI-powered embodied agents make asynchronous VR meetings more interactive, engaging, and socially connected than traditional recordings or voice assistants. I would like to point out that Dr. Nam and Seong Kang are looking for academic positions right now, so please feel free to reach out and talk to us. And thank you for listening to our presentation.
Thank you very much. It was an interesting talk. Is there any question on the floor? Yep.
Thank you very much for your interesting presentation. I was just have a question about the facial expression or emotion detection for the avatar. So is it like facial expression retargeting, or like is it like one-to-one mapping, or you try to detect the emotion and then apply it to the avatar later? Can you please clarify that part?
Could you?
Yeah,
Can
if
you
I
hear?
remember correctly, you're asking about the how I can make that blend shapes things, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Based on we recorded the facial blend shapes, accordingly that AR kit kind of things, and then we analyzed the described with the facial blend shapes with a LLM, and then based on the RNs, the user's RNs, and then the facial blend shapes, we generate the emotional facial blend shapes, each happy blend shapes and then sad blend shape kind of things. And then after that, in the real time, when the user, the LLM gonna generate some context with emotions, and then we mapping that emotion, and then the agent gonna express the facial blend shape matched with the emotions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? I actually have a short question. It's just a curiosity. In my thinking, possibly the engagement and the emotional satisfaction could be different whom you talk. So if in the agent, if I know or whom I don't know, could be somehow different in satisfaction. Because it depends on the relationship between the agent. Would it be the totally strangers, or sometimes in the meeting that could be the regular partners, and how did you understand that?
Thank you for that question. That is a very important question. When there is unfamiliarity, this could lead to lower engagement and users feeling generally very shy in interacting with the agent. This is something that will be as a future work that could where we could invite people who are familiar with the agents. For now, the whole concept was to introduce users to an asynchronous meeting. So. I would like you to imagine a Zoom meeting where you're meeting strangers and just where they're discussing about something. When you're listening to a recording, there are often times that you would not be able to interact with them or listen to or ask them questions about the meeting. The whole point of this study was to kind of enable you to do that.
Because we can presume someone. I mean, if we know someone, then we can presume their gestures, daily gestures, and their faces. We already knew it, so that's why maybe the satisfaction could be low in a way.
Well, as you mentioned, that when we design the study design, the prior relationship can be that overwhelm the whole things. So we accept that condition. So I think for the next study we can define. We're gonna fine tune for the prior relationship kind of things.
Thank you for
study conditions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, I'm Seung-ho at the HCCL Lab, Hanyang University, Republic of Korea. Today, I will present our paper, When LLMs Recognize Your Space, research on experiences with spatially aware LLM agents, which was accepted for the TVCG special issue. Here are the authors. On the far left, myself and Na Kyung-an has equally contributed to this work, and Young-Wook Cho and Professor Myung-Geol Jung provided great support in writing the paper. On the far right, Professor Kwang-Ok Kim served as the corresponding author. I will now begin explaining the paper, starting from the introduction. Have you ever had a conversation with an LLM recently? Unlike the old chatbots that just repeated a few preset answers, modern LLMs can talk just like a person. They remember long conversations, give context-aware responses, and even express subtle emotions. LLMs are now more than just such tools. They are becoming integrated into our lives. They're becoming agents that can take on different roles. When we combine them with mixed reality, a virtual agent can appear in our real-world space, enabling a truly full human-agent interaction. But this raises a crucial question. What happens to a user's experience when an MR agent can actually see their room and use the spatial information in conversation? Despite this potential, experimental research on the effects of spatial awareness remains quite limited. In fact, space plays a very important role in human-human interaction. Previous studies have shown that spatial context can change how people perceive each other and how openly they communicate. This means that spatial information is not just a background element. It fundamentally shapes the quality of interaction. Our study is one of the first to experimentally explore how this principle applies to human-agent interaction, where an agent can recognize and use spatial information. Among many possible applications, the spatial awareness can be especially meaningful in social situations that requires trust and openness, such as counseling. Building on this idea, we examined how an AR-based LLM agent that integrates spatial information could influence users' social connection and overall interaction experiences. We've summarized all of this into 3 research questions. First, can our proposed method reflect spatial information in conversation between the user and the LLM agent? Second, does using spatial information influence the co-presence and trust experiences of the user? Third, does using spatial information enhance feelings of alliance and self-disclosure in the user? Through these questions, we hope to explore the potential of spatially aware LLM agents. Now, here's the method. We recruited 30 participants and used the Unity-based system with the MetaQuest Pro HMD. As shown in the diagram, the framework enabled real-time voice-to-voice communication using speech-to-text, LLM processing, and text-to-speech. The experiment took place in a room arranged like a personal space. Before starting, participants had time to look around the room. They then were asked to have a natural conversation for each condition. The order of condition was counterbalanced. To maintain consistency, each dialogue was limited to 20 turns with a 5-minute break between conditions. There were 3 conditions. First, the LLM-only condition, where neither the participant nor the agent could perceive the surroundings. Second, the AR LLM condition, where only the participant could perceive the surroundings. Third, the spatially aware AR LLM condition, where both the participant and the agent could perceive the surroundings, and the agent could use this information in conversation. Next, prompt engineering. In the 2 conditions where the agent could not perceive the environment, the prompt includes only the personality and conversation structure. For example, you are a compassionate and empathetic person, or start with a greeting that includes the user's name. However, in the spatially aware AR LLM condition, we added spatial information to the role prompt. This allowed the agent to make natural, space-related comments during the conversation. We obtained the spatial information by inputting a photo of the room into LLM to generate text descriptions. These descriptions were then combined into the main prompt using a simple prompt chaining method. Now the results. First, in the survey on perceived spatial awareness of the agent, you observed a significant main effect. As shown in the figure, participants showed stepwise differences across the 3 conditions. This indicates that spatial information in the prompts was reflected in participants' perception of the agent. This directly addresses our first research question. Next are co-presence and trust, which relates to a second research question. Perceived others' co-presence and social presence were significantly higher in the spatially aware condition. Affect-based trust also followed this pattern, while cognition-based trust did not show differences. This replicates previous findings that affect-based trust perceived co-presence and social presence are closely related, while showing that spatial awareness can further strengthen these factors. Finally, to test our third research question, we measured both the sense of alliance with virtual therapist and user self-disclosure. For alliance, the spatially aware AR LLM condition scored significantly higher than the other conditions. This suggests that an agent using spatial information can enhance client alliance in counseling-like setting. In addition, to measure self-disclosure, we followed previous research and classified participants' utterances into 3 levels. If an utterance provided information about the participant, it was classified as level 2. For example, what I am currently studying is related to AI. If an utterance contained thoughts or feelings about personal experiences, it was classified as level 3. For example, I feel most satisfied when I notice that my students are really starting to understand what I'm teaching. All other utterances without personal information were classified as level 1. We observed a significant main effect at level 3, and the spatially aware LLM condition was significantly higher than the AR LLM condition. This indicates that spatial references may promote deeper personal disclosure. As you can see in the figure shown earlier, our study successfully addressed all the research questions we proposed. The spatially aware LLM effectively integrated spatial information into the conversation, and this led to positive changes in how users perceive the agent. These findings show that spatial grounding can transform an LLM from a simple conversation model into a socially responsive entity. This insight extends beyond counseling. It points toward new opportunities in education, healthcare, and collaborative work, where contextual understanding plays a key role. Future research should explore how such agents adapt across different models and more natural interaction environments. Ultimately, this study positions spatial awareness as a new dimension in human-AI interaction, one that bridges machine intelligence with genuine human understanding. That concludes my presentation. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It would be the pretty much future popular area. Do you have any questions on the floor? I have 2 questions and comments.
Yes.
Maybe just a curiosity. Did you find the language-specific aspects in here? For example, certain language could be because of language type or expression. Certain language could be more effective on AR, LLM, something like that. Just curiosity.
In this study, we did not discuss that issue, but it may be necessary for the next study.
Because
We
Korean language has a lot of advert.
Yeah.
So when you cut out the verbal languages into text, it could be somehow different. The occasion is different. So I don't think it's translated into the English. It's not gonna match with their actions, agent actions, and the environment. Something. Just curious. And the other thing is that you did the test with the still image, even though you mentioned about the spatial interaction, but it was the still image. If it's moving, would it be different? Deal with the real time.
It's an important issue too. That is our limitation. One of our limitation. We used just a static spatial information, and we need the dynamic spatial information is necessary to the next studies.
That would be interesting to see if it's even though you are still sitting in a one chair, but your direction could be moved toward the other side. So it could be the totally different atmosphere. For example, if I watching to the floor, that could be the totally different experience. So the spatial, what I'm feel is a totally different. Yeah. So it depends on the angles, I think.
Yes, it is.
Not pressure on you.
No, it's
Just a
very important
curiosity. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the floor? Very polite today. Thank you very much.
Hi all, I'm happy to present our work, The Impact of AI-based Real-Time Gesture Generation and Immersion on the Perception of Others and Interaction Quality in Social XR. First, I want to thank my co-author, Niklas Kome, with whom I share the first authorship. And of course our supervisors, Caroline Windrich, Stefan Kopp and Marc-Erich Latoschik. We are with the University of Würzburg and the Bielefeld University. As you all know, VR is a great tool for remote collaboration. When embodying an avatar in social interaction, the communication behavior can be similar to real-world interaction. However, there are various use cases where not all users of a social interaction are using an HMD. This causes an asymmetric interaction, where users with different device configurations interact with each other. While this increases accessibility, it also comes with some limitations, as it provides less immersion for one user. For example, users with desktop computers have less control over their digital representation, as they typically have no or limited tracking capabilities. So our idea was to substitute the tracking by creating the movement based on other inputs. A great possibility is using speech for creating speech-related motions. In our work, we focus on beat gestures, which do not itself contain speech content, but are in tune with the rhythm of the speech is. However, previous work lacks in detail evaluation of these systems. They are most of the time evaluated by showing videos, while comparing motion capture to generated gestures. And in a recent work, Werner et al. Evaluated a gesture generation system in virtual reality for the first time. However, the participants were observers, and therefore themselves not part of the social interaction. This leads to our research question. Can we replace gestures with AI-generated co-speech gestures in real time in social XR? And how does this affect the user experience and conversation quality depending on the user's self-immersion? And we have two main hypotheses. First, higher immersion leads to better user experience, and second, AI-generated gestures and motion capture result in better user experience and conversation quality than non-speech related behavior. To investigate this research question and answer the hypotheses, we designed a user study. A confederate, which was a person from our lab, interacted with a participant in social XR. As a within condition, the movement of the confederate that the participant saw was manipulated. The movement shown was either motion captured with full body tracking, generated based on the speech, or it was a looped idle condition. As a between factor, the participants were either using a desktop computer or an HMD to participate in the social interaction. So we manipulated the immersion with the two different devices. And this is how the idle condition looked like. While we used lip sync for the lip movement, the other body parts were barely moving at all. And this is how the motion capture condition looked like. We used a markerless motion capture system to capture the confederate's movement, translate it to Unity, and then show it on the avatar. And finally, this is how the generated gestures looked like. We used a system from Chrome and COP which allows real-time generation of co-speech gestures. It has low latency and uses audio chunks to generate a full body motion. The system has an active speaking mode when the confederate was talking and a passive listening mode with an idle animation. And here you can see all the 3 different animation sources side by side. And of course, they are quite different. One is moving a lot, the other is not, and one is the real movement of the confederate. And in our study, 39 participants took part. First, they got study information and filled in consent forms. Afterwards, they answered pre-questionnaires, including demographic information. And then they had a 5-minute conversation with the confederate about everyday topics. After the conversation, they answered post-questionnaires about their experience. They repeated the conversation and questionnaires for the 3 different animation sources in a counterbalanced order: the idle animation, the motion capture, and the AI-generated gestures. The task was a conversation, as I said, 5 minutes about everyday topics like your favorite hobby, your plans for the weekend, or your general AI usage. We suggested for each condition 3 topics. However, we also randomized the topics to prevent a confounding variable based on a topic. This were the avatars we were using. The confederate and the participant were embodied with gender-matched avatars, and the avatars were taken from the valid publication, and we wanted to look them like casual avatars. We used multiple questionnaires to assess the user experience, including spatial presence, co-presence, and social presence. Additionally, we measured the humanness, eeriness, and the appearance and behavior plausibility to the avatar of the confederate. At the end of the experience, we also asked open-ended questions about which trial was the most pleasant and natural one, and whether the participants noticed a difference between the trials. They should also justify why they felt that way so that we can get some more insights. Also, we analyzed how many gestures the participants did and whether there was a difference in interruptions caused by our manipulations. Finally, we also measured the speaking share during the conversation to see if the participant or the confederate dominated the conversation. Let's get to the results. I will present only a subset of our results with the same layout in the upcoming slides. Green represents the VR condition and orange represents the desktop condition. First is always the data of the motion capture condition, then the idle condition, and third is the AI-generated gestures. For spatial presence, we did find a significant difference between the VR and the desktop condition. This is in line with well-known work that higher immersion leads to higher spatial presence. And it also confirms our manipulation worked as intended. When taking a look at appearance and behavior plausibility, we also have a main effect of immersion. Participants rated the appearance and behavior plausibility higher when using an HMD than when using a desktop computer. Surprisingly, our data showed no significant effect of the animation source, so participants rated no significantly different when the confederate's movement was displayed based on motion capture, the idle animation, or the generated gestures. The perceived humanness paints a similar picture. We again found a significant difference when participants used an HMD in comparison to using a desktop computer. Participants rated the confederate's avatar as more human-like when using an HMD. However, there was no significant effect of the animation source. And the interesting part here is our data shows no significant difference for the animation source for each of our measures. Therefore, we decided to calculate Bayesian ANOVAs, and for all our measurements, they showed moderate to strong evidence that there is no difference for the different animation sources. When looking at the open questions, we found some pointers on why this happened. Some participants rated the idle animation as the most pleasant one, while others decided on the other 2. When asked why, they answered that they preferred an animation source based on the human likeness. This is also in line with the result that we found on the gesture behavior of the participants themselves. There was a huge variance in their behavior. Some participants did gesture at all, while some gestured almost every time during the conversation. therefore, various gesture behavior appears to be appropriate during social interaction. Additionally, participants mentioned that they rather focused on the verbal communication than on the movement of the avatar. Hence, there might be a threshold at which users accept emotion as human-like, and they rather focus on conversation. So what do I want you to take away from the presentation? First, high immersion enhances the user experience, since VR users reported greater user experience than desktop users. This is in line with prior work, but shows that asymmetric interaction comes with some limitation caused by the device. And that the result when evaluating motions in XR can be impacted by the device of the participant. Second, animation systems itself were less influential than expected, since we did not find any significant difference. For example, participants rated all 3 animation systems comparable human-like. Third, participants' comments showed that they rather focus on the conversational content than on the visual detail. It appears that as long as there's a human-like movement, participants focus on the conversation. And finally, the AI-generated gestures appear to be effective in social interaction for mimicking user behavior. So thank you for your attention, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your presentation. Is there any questions on the floor? Strangely quiet this morning. Any questions? Ask again. I have a questions. Just could be just comments and questions. Great, great.
Great presentation, really interesting. I have one question. Did you guys consider if the animation could have been a distraction from the conversation instead?
Oh, that's interesting. We thought about how we want to evaluate the system, whether we show an avatar at all as the baseline condition, but we opted to have the avatar present, to have the feeling that there is somebody else. And we did not get any comment from a participant that the gestures were distracting or anything like that. So no, I don't think they were distracting, but I don't think they were the attention of the focus of the participants.
Thank you.
It's interesting. And actually, there's another question.
Very interesting talk, thank you. I have a question regarding the model of the avatar. So I feel like it wasn't so high fidelity. Did you consider like if there was a more like higher fidelity model of the avatar, the like also the motion capture immersion would enhance?
Yeah, I think higher fidelity avatars have their advantages. There's a lot of research on that. Since we kept the constant, I'm not sure if there was an impact in our study, but I think in future it could be interesting to see the match between how high fidelity the motion is and how high fidelity the avatar is. But yeah, it's not part of our study, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes?
Thank you. That was an insightful presentation. I just had a question about the if there was a delay in the AI-generated animations and the audio, and if so, was there an impact on immersion and the user's overall experience?
Yeah, that's a good question. We built the AI-generated gesture on a paper from Chrome and Kopp et al., and they introduced a very minimal latency gesture generation system, and their latency they measured is like 1 frame, so 16 milliseconds. So it's not that much, because we're also doing networking, so it didn't change the latency that much. Yeah.
I have a short question. I'm related with the one before the previous question, because there's a critical cultural differences in conversation, because the Asian people, I'm not just talking generation, but we're not really using gesture when you talk. So if the gesture, if there's too much gesture, maybe we could be overwhelmed by the gesture, and maybe bit, I don't know, it's a kind of a hesitation comes into the conversation. So it would be nice if there is a kind of a control, the deeming the gesture, if the AI can control by the high gesture point, or the less gestures, if there's a deeming point, that would be the interesting, because it depends also on the personality. If someone don't want to just talk aggressively, then maybe that personality people could be stressful when someone using the high gesture point.
Yeah, that's a really
Yeah.
good comment. One sentence to that. We made sure that it's like an everyday conversation, so there isn't that much emotion in it. So we don't have like an angry or sad reaction of the participants. But I think it's really important, as we saw in our study, there are people who are gesturing the whole time, and there are people who are not gesturing at all. But there is work that tries to do some personal style embeddings, that the gestures, they look like yours, and they represent your gesture style.
That's interesting. Yeah, thank you very much.